Greetings, brothers. Welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Hello, good evening, folks. How is everybody's night? So the lighting doesn't look quite so shit. Stop. Stay. Good evening. Bananas. Okay. Hello. Dirty Wizard Texan, Jim. Plastic Crackheads. Ginger, Chrono saying, hello, everybody. How is everybody tonight? This is the 29th of January. January's gone fast, shit. And this is I think this is just the second army show of the year. Good evening to Hit to and every Sunday night we look at some army lists. As much for my benefit as for your benefit, I guess, because everything has changed. I haven't figured out a serious list yet, like a tournament list for Arcs of Omen. I'm not sure if I've seen a couple of lists that have won events. Like there was one list that actually won an event with Blood Angels, and he was still running 3 squads of 7 Sangre Guard. I think that's going to be very terrain dependent. Short of starting a bunch of them reserve, I guess, right? I mean, maybe if you start a bunch of them reserve, you've got a chance. But then I always feel like 8-inch charges or 9-inch charges with a +1 from reserve are really unreliable. So yeah, if you missed last night's painting show, I was working on my who's this guy? Lord Commander. He's going to be, I don't know, he's going to be my proxy's Gilliman. I'm going to run Gilliman this week. And this will be my Gilliman. He's on the right 60mm base. So, Gilliman and Battle Predators is actually what I'm going to run. It's very unorthodox, but it should be fun. And fun is, I think this is, like, some people are getting frustrated already about this season. I think what you have to remember is if this is the last season of 9th edition, then fun is going to have to be the goal. Because everything is a bit wacky. Iron Hands, I was going to say, are super overpowered. And some other armies are also going to be kind of crazy. So enjoy running something different. We're going to start with Zachary's list. I'm doing it in alphabetical order, or I'm doing it in chronological order, sorry. So people that submit their list longest ago will be done. And there's a few lists that didn't make the cut for this week. So, I mean, if you don't make the cut this week, I do have your submissions. I'll get to them next week, okay? So, a bunch of these lists will probably be submitted with the old points. So they might look like they're more than 2,000 points, but they're actually 2,000 points. Now, I'm going to run assault cannons and heavy bolters on my Battle Predators. I think that's the best option for the 110 points. Okay, so Commander Dante. He is the Warlord. He gives us 1 CP. We know this. We've got a Primaris Chaplain on a bike. We run Mantra, Strength, and Canticle of Hate. We give him the Master of Sanctity, so he can get, and the Wise Orator, so he can cast his litanies on 2s rather than 3s. It's pretty useful, I think. We have the Sangre Priest, who has both Soul Warden and Icon of the Angel, and I really dislike putting Soul Warden on the Sangre Priest because I think if you put it on another character, then you have 2 bubbles of invulnerable saves. Or sorry, you've got 2 bubbles of mortal wound shrugs. Whereas if you put it on the Sangre Priest, then you just have the 1 bubble. So I'm not a huge fan of putting Soul Warden on the Sangre Priest. I'd much rather have it on a Captain. I mean, in this list, I guess you couldn't put it on the Chaplain because he's already got a Warlord trait. So yeah, I guess you're strung out of options on this list. But if you can, I like to put Soul Warden on a second character that gives you 2 bubbles of feeling of ignoring the mortals or shrugging the mortals. Miguel says, I'm not feeling the whole swarm of Sangre Guard or Death Company. I've shifted over to Terminators, but I don't think that's a very good idea either. I think my list and my experiment this week is going to be half fast moving. So like 2 Death Company, 1 Sangard, and then 3 slow moving elites. Blade Guards, Centurions, Terminators. So I'm doing a 50-50 list just to see what it looks like. And I'm obviously going to have the +2 to charge as well. So that's what I'm thinking. Arbol Predator's good. I don't know. I've got 2 of them. I've had them for years. I've never run them. They're finally 110 points. I think at 110 points they might be okay. I don't know if they're good though. Okay, Assault Intercessors, Incursors, and Incursors. I think that's fine. I like the free mine on the Incursors. I like the 3 Thunderhammer on the Assault Intercessors. I think Infiltrators are really, really good now. How many lists do I go through? Like 5 or 6 every night. Or 5 or 6 every Sunday is usually how many we go through turns. Sometimes more. It just really depends. We've got Death Company Marines, and we've got that squad that has the 4 Thunderhammers, which I think is probably the best squad now. We also have another larger squad that also has 4 Thunderhammers. In my experience of trying to run more than 5 Death Company, I don't like it, because if you ever in a situation where you want to Forlorn Fury that second squad, then you have to pay 2 CP for it. So I think it's better to just keep them as 5s. They've got shitty morale as well, so giving them a bigger squad, you just make their morale more chance of failing morale. I think you should just have 2 squads of 4 Thunderhammers. That's what I'm going to be running. I think that's probably what I think is strongest now. Evening, Robert. Hello to Argentina, says Julio. Running 2 squads of Vanguard veterans, 3 axes and shields, 1 with 2 Infernal pistols and a Relic Blade Infernal, and having a ton of fun with them. Interesting, Jim. I haven't made the switch to Vanguard veterans yet, but I do have 20 with Storm Shields. So, because I went kind of crazy earlier this edition when Storm Shield Vanguard veterans were good. So maybe I'll bust out some of them in the next... We'll see how we get on against Iron Hands, and then maybe I'll bust out some of the Vanguard veterans. We got the Sangre Ancient, who has the Wrath of Baal, and I guess in this list this would be a perfect character to give Soul Warden to, right? So you can make that very small tweak, Zachary, and then you can have the 2 bubbles of Mortal Feels, because you can have the Mortal Feel on the Sangre Ancient instead of your Priest, which I think is better. He's still got 2 7-man squads of Sangre Guard, with a couple of Infernal pistols, and then he's got a 5-man squad with 1 Infernal pistol. I think now Infernal pistols are free. I would load up on them. I'd have as many as you can get in there. My 5-man squad of Sangre Guard I'm running is going to have 5 Infernal pistols. In my experience, even with Chapter Master, like if your Chapter Master is your Warlord and he's close to the Sangre Guard, they usually hit on 2s and they reroll 1s. So they're like super reliable. Yet the Angelus Bolters still do no damage. So I think Angelus Bolt guns are... I mean, Bolters in general are just not good this edition. You don't ever see damage really coming out of Bolters. I don't rate the Angelus Bolt guns at all. I think it's much better having the Infernal pistols, even if the Infernal pistols aren't in range very often. I think I would go for Infernal pistols. We've got Inceptors. And I guess this will have to be a smaller squad now because Inceptors went back to 60 points. And then he's got the Whirlwind with the Castellan launcher. Okay. So this is... I was going to say, for me, this is a pre-Arcs of Omen list, right? Like, this is a Nephilim list. It's a Nephilim list with Inceptors added because you get some free points, I guess. This is what a lot of people were running in Nephilim. And I think now... a list like this is going to be so terrain dependent because you've got nothing that can sit on objectives and hold objectives. You could maybe sticky an objective or 2, but yeah, my experience in the games I played, because I've only played 7 games in Arc of Omen, 5 of them are a tournament, and 2 of them were practice games. My experience in all those games... Oh, actually, I've played 3 that weren't at the tournament. In all my games, the Sangre Guard and Death Company die so friggin' fast, and I'd say 50 to 70% of the time they don't even get to roll saving throws anymore. Right? Like, if you're playing Iron Hands, and you have Sangre Guard in cover, I think you still don't even... they're -5. So half the time... Yeah, okay, Sangre Guard can save on a 6 in cover, which is completely unreliable and they'll be dead anyway, and Death Company don't even get save in cover, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Because they get half their army is shooting you at -5. I guess other armies will do that as well, like Dark Angels now as well. So all these units are great, but they're so terrain dependent, and I think there's going to be a switch in Blood Angels towards more durable units. I guess on the terrain layouts that I usually play on, I do not think this is viable. Let me show you some of the terrain that we've played on recently. It'll take me 2 seconds to pull it up, but I have 2 folders. Where did I put this stuff? YouTube. I get too many hard drives on this computer, honestly. Ah, here it is. Okay. So, let me think, like, I was going to say, there was a game that I used as an example. Maybe it was this game. So, like, in this game, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ruins and 2 forests. Now, for me, in my meta, in the places I play, this is fine. Like, people would think that this table is fine. I know Games Workshop say 12 to 14 pieces on a table this size, but I've honestly gone to a lot of events where this is sort of a standard amount of terrain. You wouldn't see much more on this. And it's worth noting that 3 of the objectives here, here, and here have literally no cover on any of those objectives. So if you've got nothing that can sit on these objectives and be durable, which that Nephilim list does not have anymore because of the change, that's kind of where you're at. Like, it's the change is huge. So my opinion is this list might be able to win events, but it's super terrain dependent, right? If you're fighting a Space Marine chapter that was in heavy doctrine before with Sangre Guard, right? Let's say they were shooting your Sangre Guard with multi-beltas. Well, they're -4. Armor of Contempt makes them -3, so you save on 5s. Now, they're still in Devastator Doctrine, so they're -5. You don't get to take off the AP point. So if you had a squad of Sangre Guard on an objective there out in the open and they get shot with multi-meltas, you don't even get to save on Sangre Guard, which are on a 2-up save, which is kind of insane. But yeah, AP is high this edition, I guess. So my thought is, Zachary, I would swap out get some durable units in there. What those durable units look like, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you can take some inspiration from the rest of the armor. Jim says the Storm Shields definitely help with our paper armor. Yet Dark Ginger says my list has gone down to no more than 2 units without invulnerable saves. Just so 1/5 Death Company and 1/5 Sangre Guard. The rest 4 have invulnerable saves. The losses without invulnerable are 2 critical. Nice. Okay, good to hear. What's the consensus about how many to field? I still take ×2, but 1 to 3 is best. I mean troops. I think I'm probably still going to field 3 troops, but I think you can probably try 2. I'm not entirely sure. The Tau player was terrified of the Blood Angels. Jack had him stuck in his deployment zone because he didn't move out in fear of getting smashed by Sangre Guard and Death Company. Tau don't have any staying power. They can't sit on objectives. So in the Tau verse, like, I played Tau recently at an event and it was an absolute nightmare. But again, that's going to be terrain dependent. So if it's a dense board, I feel like Tau have no chance against Blood Angels. If it's a light board, then Blood Angels have no chance against Tau. Okay, Tyler says, this is a rebuilt Lamenters list considering the points changes with armor Arcs of Omen. I'm pretty sure I got the CB count right after the Warlord traits and relics, but I always second guess myself. Looking forward for your comments. Alright, so 1900 points Arcs of Omen detachment. We have a Sangre piece with a jump pack. He's given him Artificer armor. He's given him the Chief Apothecary upgrade. And that comes in at 150 points. He's expensive as that? Yeah, that's right, if he's a Chief Apothecary. I would probably give him armor of contempt over artificer armor. I feel like the extra wound and the ability to go on a 3-up and run when you desperately need it is probably, because the thing is, like, the second the priest gets targeted, I feel like with only 4 wounds, he's dying pretty quick. Yes, artificer armor gives him a 5-up and run, but you know, like a single metal gun shot or something can sneak through. So my thought is armor Indomitus is a lot better for a Sanguinary Priest. I did not see what happened to Jack Harpster at the LVO. Enlighten me. I didn't see any of LVO. I mean, I have kids, man. So on the weekend, that's really family time. So that's kind of how that works for me. We got a Chaplain with a jump pack. He is upgraded to the Master of Sanctity. He has the Benediction of Fury. He has an Infernal Pistol. He has Catechism of Fire and Recitation of Focus. So it's like a shooting Chaplain, which is interesting. He's in the top 4. Yeah, I mean, it's funny that he actually got that far. I suppose it's terrain dependent, right? I saw some people say that the terrain at LVO was a joke on Twitter, but I only saw a couple of pictures of tables. I did see one table where there was no obscuring terrain on the entire table. So I guess Jack was lucky that he dodged that table, because that seemed very interesting. I know if I was playing Blood Angels on that table, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been able to do anything. Like we can't play on a table with no obscuring terrain. That's insane. And the guy that sent the photo was 5-1, so he was doing pretty well until he hit that table, actually. Or he was, I think that was the only game he lost, yes. He was 5-0 until he hit the table that had no obscuring terrain. We got the Primaris Tech Marine in there as well. Okay. Elite, so we got 10 Terminators with 9 Chain Fists, Stormbolters, Heavy Flamer, Assault Cannon, and a Power Sword and a Sergeant. Cool. We can combat squad these if we want. We've got 5 Vanguard Veterans with Jump Pack, Lightning Claws, and Shields. We've got another squad of Vanguard Veterans with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields. Interesting. We have the Sanguinary. They're quite expensive when you compare them to a Terminator squad, aren't they? Considering the Terminators all have an extra wound. I was going to say, how many attacks do Vanguard Veterans get against Firstborn Terminators? I think it's the same, right? Like, I think Vanguard Veterans and Terminators get the same amount of attacks. Terminator Sergeant gets 3, and I'm pretty sure a Vanguard Veteran gets 3. Terminator Assault Squad, Vanguard Veteran Squad. Yeah, so Terminators and Vanguards get 3. I guess the Terminators have got a slight advantage in terms of survivability, and also they have that one strat that can buff their damage output with Fury the First. Hey, good evening, Jimmy. We got the Sanguinary Ancient, but we haven't taken any Warlord traits or upgrades on him. The only reason to take the Ancient, really, is to run Wrath of Baal. So, to give your jump units 2 inches more movement. That's like the whole point of taking him, so maybe rethink this a little bit. You have a squad of 9 Sanguinary Guard, 5 Axes, 5 Swords, 9 Infernal Pistols. This squad's way too big. I noticed as well you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, you've got 2 units of Death Company with Chain Swords and Hand Flamers. Interesting choice, actually, Hand Flamers. I guess because they're free. That's annoying. I guess what you should do is make your squad of Vanguard Veterans into a 10-man squad so you can combat squad them. Because 9 Sanguinary Guard is way too big. Already just said Sanguinary Guard are going to melt to enemy fire now because they've got no invulnerable save. So having 9 isn't going to do anything for you. You're going to jump in with 9, you're going to kill something, and then you're going to lose the whole squad. You'd probably be better splitting them into a 5 and a 4. Jump in with a 5, you might not kill them, but you'll lose the whole squad anyway, and then you at least have the second squad of 4 to back it up. So I'd put the Vanguard Veterans together, combat squad them, and then do a 5 and a 4 in the Sanguinary Guard. Hand Flamer Death Company. I haven't tried Hand Flamer Death Company, but it's just strength 3 and Chain Swords. I think that might. I mean, it's okay for killing chaff. I guess you've got Chain Fists and you've got Thunder Hammer, so maybe it's okay. But I think the squad of Death Company with the Thunder Hammers are almost too good to not have. But yeah, I mean, if that's what you like to run, maybe you could run that. If you went 2 squads of 4 Sangre Guard, you could free up 30 points. You could maybe add like 3 Thunderhammers to one of those squads of Death Company. I think it would be worth it. Where do you put your list? Go over to the community page. So wherever you're watching on YouTube, there should be a button that says Blood Angels Commander in the video. Click on it and then click on community, and there should be a post up there explaining how you do it. If you roll hot, hand flamers can do some damage. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of shots, right? It would be like 5d6 shots, but they're only strength 3. So even if you're just fighting toughness 4 models, on average, I don't know, you're getting like 20 hits. You're only wounding on 5s, so you're asking like for 5 saves at 1 damage. Does the hand flamer even have AP? I actually don't know. It's assault, right? So it would only have AP in turn 2. If you're trying to get to assault doctrine. Sorry, pistol. Oh, it's pistol. I didn't know hand flamers were pistols. 12 inches. Okay. I mean, all right. So it has the same. It has 1 AP in turn 3 onwards. I don't know. I mean, it's like 5 weaker chainsword attacks into toughness 4, 5, or 6. I mean, with Infernal Pistols being free, I feel like Infernal Pistols are just going to be much better than hand flamers, dude. I would take 5 Infernal Pistol shots, even though you have to hit on 3s, which means at worst case you hit 3 times. I would take 3 hits with Infernal Pistols over like 20 hits with a strength 3, 1 damage hand flamer with no AP. You got 2 squads of infiltrators with Helix gauntlets, which I like, and then you've got the Gladiator Valiant with the twin las cannon, the 2 multi-meltas, the rocket pods, the auto launchers, the heavy stubber, all at 170 points. Well, it's got a decent amount of survival units, right? We've got 10 3-wound guys with invulnerable saves. We've got 10 2-wound guys with invulnerable saves. We still have 2 Death Company. We kind of have 2 Sangre Guard if we split these up. Definitely get Wrath of Baal onto your Sangre Ancient. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless to be running him. We get the Priest for revives. We got the Tech Marine, which feels like a low value pick if you just have 1 heavy support. My experience is if you're going to run a Tech Marine, you need to have multiple heavy support. Or you need to have multiple vehicles, because if you just have the enemy goes first, they kill your Valiant, and then your Tech Marine's fucking useless for the rest of the game. So I wouldn't run a Tech Marine unless you're running multiple units of armor. Sometimes it almost feels like 2 is the bare minimum for that as well. Like sometimes you probably want 3 units of armor to have Tech Marine. So you could drop the Tech Marine for some sort of combat character that could benefit some of these other guys as well. I think that's probably what I would do. So, for those we cherish, we die in glory. Anyone got any comments on this list? This season was brutal. Played Votann yesterday, and even though it was a very close game, my army just had no staying power minus the storm shields. That's what I felt like, Jim. That's really what I felt like, and that's why I'm saying the more we talk about it on stream, the more I think I don't want to field Centurions. I just want to field 2 squads of Terminators with storm shields. I've got my 5 Blade Guard veterans. I've got my 5 Terminators, and I was gonna do Centurions from reserve, but Terminators are, I guess Terminators are cheaper than Centurions. There's more invulnerable saves. It's more wounds as well. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I hadn't 100% committed on my list. So yeah, maybe I'm going to run 2 squads of Terminators. I'm going to lose the Centurions, and just as much as I want the Centurions to be an alpha strike unit, I think more invulnerable saves at the moment is better. And like I said, it's really map dependent. If you are unfortunate and have to play on maps like I have to play on at events, then you're going to need staying power. And I definitely feel like at the event that I won, like when it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, my Death Company before in Nephilim, sometimes when you send a Death Company or Sangre Guard unit in, you know, because we're hiding behind an obscuring cover, we jump forward 12 or 14 inches depending, and then we make a charge, right? When we did that in Nachmund or Nephilim, whatever the fucking last season was called, there was a chance that you had some survivors in that unit, right? Like quite often I'd have a unit of 5 Sandguard and maybe 2 guys lived. Like after the opponents fought back or after the opponents had their turn. You know, I remember there was a few games where like my Death Company might have 2 guys left or my Sangre Guard might have 2 guys left. In the new season, that just completely got flipped. It's like I never have anyone left in those squads after they've jumped in. They jump in, they have to kill something, and then they're instantly dead. Fullhammer's painting up Centurions as I'm watching with the full knowledge they will not get anywhere near a list during Arcs of Omen. They could get near a list, Fullhammer, if you're willing to run Psychic Fortress. And I looked back at one point, like when this channel was brand new, and I was trying to build it up. One of the things that was building on, or one of the things that was doing to try and make people think, hey, this guy isn't a chump and terrible at Blood Angels, was I went on this win streak. I play every Wednesday night, and I always film the game, and I always put it on the channel. And I was on this like 15-game win streak, and that list was a really strange list, right? Where it had like Centurions and attack bikes. I think it had Terminators in it as well. I think it had 1 squad of Sandguard, 1 squad of... I don't think it had any Death Company. So 1 squad of Sandguard, 1 squad of Vanguard Vets, attack bikes, Centurions. But then the pivot point on that list was that I had Psychic Fortress. If I got to go first, and I think I had a double Redemptor in that list as well, maybe. So if I got to go first, I got my Psychic Fortress up. I also had a Priest in there to revive and heal. Maybe this was back before they nerfed Selfless Healer. Where Selfless Healer was like 15 points. I think the Priest was like 135. And that was one of the best. It was like one of the best all-round lists I'd ever written. And I mean, because obviously it won like 15 games in a row. And it had Centurions in it before Armor of Contempt, before they were good, but it all pivoted on, I kind of need to go first, or I kind of need to make sure my Psychic Fortress is up. Because I remember a couple of games against like Sisters of Battle where I didn't get my Psychic Fortress up, and they just pepper like my attack bikes and Centurions with all that like Retributor fire. And also he ran the Sisters of Battle tanks that had the multi-meltas on them as well. I forget what they're called now. We don't see them very often. Yeah, it was like... So I think if you want to make Centurions, then really consider Psychic Fortress. Because it is a really good spell and it is really powerful. And it also opens up Null Zone. And in some matches, Null Zone will win you the match by itself, right? Like if you're playing... I remember being in a tournament against an Eldar player, or a Harlequin player rather, and he didn't know too much about Blood Angels, and I'd Psychic Fortressed my army, and I'd kind of like tanked up a bunch of his damage, and he jumped in on me pretty fast because he's got all those bikes and stuff, and he made a giant big squad of bikes, like give them a 3-up invulnerable save, like until the next turn or something. I just went, alright, I'm going to Null Zone, remove your invulnerable save and kill all your bikes. And it was such a big pivot point of the game. So Psychic Fortress goes both ways, right? You're protecting yourself, and then you also open the opportunity to strip invuns. I have also killed Mortarion in turn 1 before with Null Zone. Colin jumped Mortarion forward sort of to the center board, and I just went straight in there, stripped his invulnerable save and killed Mortarion in turn 1. And that was a pretty devastating game against Death Guard as well. So if you want to make Centurions work, I think about that. Alright, Tyler's list, I think I've given all my opinion. I'd probably combat squad the Terminators. I'd make those small changes. I'd probably lose the Tech Marine if you've only got 1 piece of armor, because toughness 8 vehicle with 12 wounds can get, like, the shitty little Votan trucks blew up my Gladiator from like 40 inches away. I couldn't believe it. Like, every gun on those little Votan trucks does 2 damage, and it gets so many shots. I had my Gladiator right across the side of the board, and it just got blown up in 1 turn. So I think, again, having a Tech Marine, meh. I mean, maybe switch him out for a Librarian, but I'm just talking about Psychic Fortress Null Zone. Give you some options. How many points is a Librarian with Firstborn Librarian these days? 80 points. So you need to find 10 points to get him into your list. How much is a Terminator Librarian? 95. Okay. Thought he might be cheaper. I do like the Terminator Librarian just because of the deep strike potential. Okay. What is better to take as a second spell if you don't take Null Zone? Might of Heroes or Veil of Time? Veil of Time... Sorry. I would take Might of Heroes if you have Dreadnoughts. Might of Heroes only affects a single unit. So if you cast it on like a unit of Sangry Guard, one Sangry Guard gets the +1 strength, +1 toughness, +1 attack. Which makes no difference because when the enemy go to wound that unit, they still wound them based on toughness 4, even though there's one guy in the squad with toughness 5, right? Like they do that's specifically called out in that Mighty Heroes rule. Some people get confused thinking Mighty Heroes affects the whole squad. I think when I first used it, I think I played it incorrectly like that. Mighty Heroes is good if you've got core Dreadnoughts, so Redemptors or Contemptors, because you can make one of them toughness 8, and you give them basically extra strength, which doesn't really matter, but extra attacks in combat is brilliant. Veil of Time I would take if you don't have those Dreadnoughts, or if you're doing multiple deep strikes. Because rerolls of charges are always going to cost you CP, so if you can just cast Veil of Time to save on those CP, that's going to be nice. On the Centurion tactic, a Null Zone with a new Armor of Omen detachment, is it worth doubling down on? I don't know. So if I'm like, I have another GT the first week of March, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks away. This week I'm playing a fun list with Gilliman, but the week after, and depending on how Gilliman does for me, I might end up running Gilliman to this event. But I think the week after that, I'm going to be running Psychic Fortress Null Zone list. What are your thoughts on the new Brutalis Dreadnought? I think it's probably going to be better than Redemptor. I'm a little bit annoyed I've got 3 Redemptors, to be honest, Tyler. It seems like its firepower is going to be more reliable than Redemptor's because it's just got 4 multi-metal shots. And Redemptors have that D6 plasma shot, which is annoying and unreliable in tournaments. Don't forget Boxy Dreadnoughts now. They're decent with free las cannons. Las cannons, you can't run las cannons at tournaments, Jim. I mean, you can. There's nothing that says you can't run them. If you want to win tournaments, you're not going to win a tournament with a las cannon because anytime, my experience is, anytime I'm in a really tough matchup with a weapon that either does D6 shots or a weapon that has D6 damage, you're rolling a 1, right? Like, you just have to expect that you're going to roll a 1 in that situation. And if you command point it, you're probably rolling into another 1 or a 2. When you're playing someone on a low table at the beginning of the tournament, you'll roll a 6 for the number of shots and you'll roll a 6 for the number of damage and everything will be rosy, but that made no difference in that game. You could have afforded to roll the 1 in that game and you would have still won the game, right? It's like, at those top tables, when everything really matters, every point of damage is super important, having weapons or that have like D6 shots and you only have 1 of them, or having a weapon that does D6 damage, is tragic. There's a lot of toughness 8 running around. Then I would guess plasma, right? Macro plasma is kind of the option, I guess. Or Thunderhammers. Thunderhammers. People always say for Blood Angels, hammers are my melta. I still think having 2 squads of Death Company loaded out with Thunderhammers is going to be really important. Are you playing singles this time? Yes, the next GT I'm going to is singles. I go to like a team event like every 18 months. I really enjoy the team events. And the cool thing about the team events is, in this event, I basically got the worst matchup in every game because, well, I guess because we thought the other 2 armies were better at scoring close. They were more likely to get 100 points, and I like being the underdog. I like having no pressure. So I like just saying like, yeah, just give me whatever you guys don't want to play, whatever you guys don't think you can score 100 against. I will play that game and I will fight tooth and nail for every point. And I guess it worked this time and we won the event. I did that before with Colin and Andrew, and I was very frustrated actually, because Colin and Andrew got to pick all the matchups and I had the best win rate out of everybody at the event. And I was like, you guys picked all the matchups, so why have I got the best win rate? But again, by being the player that takes the game that you don't get to choose, I guess there's no pressure, right? But yeah, maybe just having no pressure at a tournament is when I play best. I definitely know that the 2 times I've been basically playing to win the event is the 2 games that I've probably played the worst at. It's just experience on that final table, I guess. 3rd time's a charm, though. Maybe the 3rd time I get to the top table, I'll win. I don't know. Okay. I posted... So Florian's list is up next. I posted Arts of Omen list to review in an older community post, but realised the list was illegal. So here's an Arts of Omen list. Okay. Captain on a Bike, Gift of Foresight, Chapter Master, Infernal Pistol, Armour and Dominus, Thunderhammer. Alright, so tanky Captain on the bike. We've got Mephiston coming back for 125 points. Nice to see some people running him. Whether or not he's competitive, I guess, is a whole other... It's a whole other question. How does he compare in points to the Firstborn Librarian with the jump pack? Librarian... Firstborn Librarian is 80 points, plus the jump pack is puts him at 105, and then the chapter upgrade. So he's the exact same points as the Firstborn Librarian. So that stayed the same. Mephiston probably got hit hard, though, because, again, lack of invulnerable save. Unless you're going to cast Shield of Sanguinius on yourself, which I don't love. Okay. And then we got the Primaris Lieutenant with Rights of War, and he is the one with the... He's the one with the Storm Shield. Neo Volkite Pistol crafted. So he's the, Blade Guard, Primaris Lieutenant sort of character. I mean, he looks exactly like a Blade Guard. Okay, Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlets for 100 points. We have the Blade Guard Ancient. Sorry, Blade Guard Ancient? I don't know where that came from. We've got Blade Guard Veteran Squad at 175 points. With the Sergeant with the Neo Volkite Pistol and the 5 guys. It's cool the Neo Volkite Pistol is free. I kind of think it's wasted points. I played this Neo Volkite Pistol for a whole tournament, and I think I did 1 mortal wound across 5 games. It was tragic for me. Maybe my dice rolls were bad, but on paper the Neo Volkite Pistol looks better than a heavy bolt pistol. In reality, it sucks. You got the 5 Death Company with the 5 with Thunderhammers. Cool. We got the 6 Sangre Guard Oath with Infernal Pistols. We got 2 squads of Terminators with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields, which I like, and they also have Teleport Homers, which I like, and that's all free, and I think that's very good. We then have 10 Vanguard Veterans with Power Swords and Storm Shields. This is meta, Florian, nice. Power Swords are obviously cheaper. This keeps them down to 28 points a model rather than 31 points a model for the Lightning Claw. So this is, if I didn't have all my Vanguard Veterans, I think I've got a handful of them magnetized, 5 of them maybe. But Vanguard Veterans with powers, and do you know what? I put so many Power Swords onto Death Company recently, so I definitely don't have enough Power Swords to do this, even if I wanted to. I think I was scraping the barrel to get the last Power Swords onto Death Company models. I think if you're making Vanguard Veteran squads now, this is how I would arm them, because I think they're Strength 5, they're -3. You've got +1 to wound from Blood Angels, so I think you're wounding infantry pretty effectively, and you're wounding armor on 4s. It's okay against armor, nothing great against armor, but really good at tearing up infantry and tearing up enemy marines. It proves how strong Blood Angels have been up into Arcs of Omen. I mean, it's terrain based though, right? You say Blood Angels are strong, it really depends on terrain, man. I think that's the problem as well with GW look at Blood Angels that they're 48% win rate, and they see some people winning events, right? So Games Workshop are looking at the whole picture of Blood Angels, and they're going, well, Jack, for example, keeps winning events with Blood Angels, right? But he's playing on those tournament tables that have really good high-level terrain, I'm assuming, because there's no way that you beat armies like Harlequins and that without a bunch of obscuring terrain. I'm sure the tables at the top end of LVO are good. I've heard horror stories about down low. But I guess my point is, average Blood Angels player at average tournament is not getting the same level of terrain. You know, they're on a board that's like, I'll give you an example. It'll be coming up on my channel soon, actually. I had to play Tau on Abandoned Sanctuaries. So that's no pre-game move, so I can put no pressure on them early in the game, right? On a board that looks something like this. Oh, I say something like this. This is the actual board. Where is it? Is it going to load? Yes. So here's your board that I had to play Tau on. So my whole army starts behind this line. His whole army starts behind this line. And basically, there's no cover. There's one little bit of cover here. And I guess maybe I could get some things behind there, but I still think he can draw easily fire arcs from like either side to any models behind there. So I have to go first. And this is why Blood Angels win rate sucks, because we're so terrain dependent, right? Like, so I have to go first. So what are you doing? Like, if I go back, oh, I didn't take a picture of deployment. Damn it! This is the earliest picture I got in the game. But like, how are you so tower behind this line back here, and there's no pre-game movement. So even like on an advanced roll, I can get probably just beyond these objectives, right? So where are you going? How are you deploying here? How are you playing this game? And this is why Blood Angels win rate sucks. Or I guess 48% doesn't suck, but this is why it's low, because average Blood Angels player playing this game against average Tau player, Blood Angels are getting minced, because any unit you put on the objective, instantly killed. You're going to have to take one whole turn. The only move I have is to get jump units behind here and jump sort of 12 inches from here to about here, and then make a charge against whatever's just behind this wall. Because that's even just reaching that wall is probably like a 5 maybe, and all he had behind that wall was like a squad of Pathfinders. So I mean, cool. I killed a squad of Pathfinders and I gave up like a 150 point unit of Death Company, or I gave up like a 150 point unit of Sanguinary Guard or more. Yeah. So it's so terrain dependent, and I think that's the problem that we're having, and I think that's the problem that we're going to see with. That was like the worst game of my life. That was an Arcs of Omen game with no Armor of Contempt into Tau, and trust me, that was the worst game of my life. That literally felt like every turn I was just putting units out across the board to die. And I hate tournaments that play Abandoned Sanctuaries. I don't get it. It's like, the only play I have, that was like the one game I didn't want to go first in as well, and I went first. The only play I have is to, like, Abandoned Sanctuaries. I really hope they got rid of Abandoned Sanctuaries in the new book. I still don't have my Arcs of Omen book, but I believe Abandoned Sanctuaries is still here. We've got Inceptors. This squad won't be valid anymore, unfortunately, because Games Workshop rolled back the change on Inceptors. I don't think they really needed to roll back the change on Inceptors. I think they just needed to try and balance them in a better way. We got 2 Tornadoes with Assault Cannons and Multi-Meltas. We got Eliminators with Quake Bolts and Las Fusils. I always find one squad of Eliminators is super underwhelming. I've run them loads of times, like one single squad, and I always feel like they're underwhelming. Maybe if they're just doing Quake Bolts, it's okay, but like 2 Las Fusils, probably hitting on 2s or 3s. It feels underwhelming. And then you've got the Impulsor. What's in the Impulsor, actually? The Blade Guard. Okay. Alright, so so this is similar to what I was thinking, right? He's got Blade Guard with Storm Shields, 2 squads of Terminators with Storm Shields, all these Vanguard Veterans with Storm Shields, Impulsor as well with the free Shield Dome. So he's gone and put half his army to have invulnerable saves. Mephiston doesn't have one. You only got 1 unit of troops, which I kind of dislike. I think troops have got a lot better. But I guess the reason he only has 1 squad is that he's gone for this big Vanguard Veteran and Inceptors and multiple Speeders. And I'd probably just lose Eliminators and have a second squad of Infiltrators or something here. I guess you're going to have to change it a little bit anyway with Inceptors. It's a medium win rate. It's a low win rate, dude. There's a lot of armies that have been consistently above 50%. So what Games Workshop see, right, is they see Blood Angels do very well in tournaments, right? But the tournaments they see them do very well in are big events with lots of good terrain, and probably I think one of the events Jack did one of the events Jack won used like the GW terrain. What realistically happens in lots of little events across the country is, or the UTC as you say, they have 8 pieces of terrain on the board as opposed to 12 or 14. Well, see, this some people want to say that Games Workshop want to aim for 45 to 55. I think that's bullshit. I think we should be aiming for 48 to 52. Yeah, the Inceptors have gone up, so he would have to change them out for Bolter Inceptors. But I think we should be aiming for a smaller bracket than 10%, because if you're a 45% army fighting a 55% army, that's a big disadvantage if you ask me. And I haven't seen any figures yet. Like, they haven't done a meta watch since Arcs of Omen came out. But I'd be really interested to see the next meta watch if we still have armies way above 55%. Because this whole last year we've had armies that are above 55%. So if we've got armies that are consistently above 55, then I'd say 48 is low. 48 is low, especially when you've got players like Jack winning events, right? So realistically, the high-level players on high-level events are probably above 50, and then all the rest of us are like 40. They're pulling us up, right? Okay, so I kind of like this list. We've got a lot of switch towards Storm Shields. I think we're going to need it. I think the trick is going to be to switch to have enough survivability, but also retain as much speed as possible. And I think this is kind of what this list is aiming to do. We could debate Mephiston all day long if he's valid in competitive play. I think he's okay. I think personally, I would like to see someone win an event with Mephiston in their list, like Primaris Mephiston, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I was going to say that I think the Firstborn Librarian just pips him for more like utility, but I do like Unleash Rage. I think Unleash Rage is a really good skill. I guess if you got more staying power, like more Terminators on the board, more Blade Guard, more Death Company, more Storm Shield Vanguard veterans, then maybe Unleash Rage actually maybe is really useful. So yeah, I'm probably okay with this list overall. The Inceptors need fixed. My opinion is one squad of Eliminators is always meh when you've just got one squad of them. And I suppose the Lieutenant will probably be in the Impulsor with the Blade Guard, so that you have Rights of War around the Blade Guard, so you've got OBSEC. I would like to see some way of adding a shrug to Mortal Wounds, maybe. But unfortunately he doesn't have that. But maybe that's not as big a problem. Maybe that's not as big a problem as it was. It's hard to say. I don't know if Mortal Wounds are such a big problem in Arcs of Omen. I haven't played any armies that have been spamming out Mortal Wounds. I suppose I've played the Eldar that spam out quite a lot of Mortal Wounds from Psychic Powers. Tough to say. My experience was when I ran the Lieutenant, I found it hard to get value out of the Lieutenant. But I haven't run him in a Lance. I haven't run him in a Impulsor with Blade Guard veterans. So, in principle, this seems like a good list. It would be nice to have Soul Warden in there, but I think that's about the only thing that he's missing. Maybe a Whirlwind might be useful, but it might also not be needed. Yeah, you can always do janky things like charge the enemy with Impulsor, so that they can't overwatch your Blade Guard veterans, etc., etc. Okay, cool. What's next? We have got... I was going to say, we did Tyler, right? Yeah. So Foz has submitted a list. Okay, on the 23rd. Alright, cool. So here's the list I plan to run if I get to play any Arcs of Omen's game using the non-magnetized units I already have. and he's starting on 2 CP. He's got the Chapter Master. He's a Jump Chapter Master, Combi Melta, Rites of War. That's it, I think. Relic Blade, I guess. Chaplain on a bike. Artisan of War, Mantra of Strength. Adamantium Mantle, and Armor Indomitus. Okay, interesting. So a tanky chaplain on the bike. Sanguinary Priest with the Selfless Healer. It's nice that Selfless Healer came down 5 points. I feel like it could have come down a bit more, though. His jump pack's already the most expensive jump pack in the game. I don't know why. Incursors and Infiltrators, 1 Mine, 1 Helix Gauntlet is fine. Death Company with 3 hammers and 2 Infernal Pistols in each squad. I think if you can get that extra hammer in each squad, I think it's worth going 4 hammers, 1 Infernal Pistol. My experience tells me that quite often 4 hammers can just be enough. If you've got Chapter Master rerolls and Assault Doctrine, 4 hammers can sometimes just be enough. I think with 3 hammers, you risk leaving some key enemy units on a few wounds. I think that's why some people go with 5 hammers, because they're even more, they're just doubling down on, like, I know that with 5 hammers I'll 100% kill this enemy unit, and I think it's worth noting. When I used to run 4 hammers a lot, I used to use Unleash Rage on them, and when I used to run 4 hammers with Unleash Rage, it did feel a little bit more like I could just kill anything on an Alpha Strike. So, overall, I think this is decent. We've got 2 7-man Sanguinary Guard. We've got Bolters in one squad. We've got a couple of Infernal Pistols in the other squad. A couple of Power Fists. If you could get more Infernal Pistols in here, Foz, I would do it. I would also get probably a few more Power Fists in there if I can do it. I think Axes are probably the least valuable now, because Power Fists have more EP, Swords have more EP. If you fight, let's say you fight other Marines with Axes or Swords, then you pretty much limit them to not being able to make saving throws, which is always powerful if you can say to the opponent, you just can't make saves. So every single wound roll here is going to be a dead Marine. That's pretty powerful. Axes might they're not bad. I just think if it was me right now, I'm probably running Swords and Fists if I can. I'm not about to change all my Sanguinary Guard's weapon options, though. We've got 1 squad of Terminators with the Thunderhammers and Teleport Homers. We got 1 squad of Vanguard Veterans with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields and all that good stuff. We've got an Assault Squad. I was going to say, I think you can get a couple of Meltaguns in the storms in the Assault Squad now for free. You don't seem to have them again. If you haven't done that, it's fine. But if you have, if you've got the models with Meltaguns, then I would get them in there because they're free. You've got the Land Speeder with Multi-Melta. You've got that 1 squad of Eliminators, but no Quake Bolts this time round. And then you've got the Whirlwind. Okay, so 2 units with Storm Shields. Get 4 really fast-moving units. The Chaplain, the Priest, the Chapter Master seems all fine. I didn't see any Soul Warden, which is fine, I guess. What? Yeah, I didn't see any Soul Warden, which is fine, I guess. I like Soul Warden. I think it's good. 7-man Sanguinary Guard squads, to me, seems... It goes back to what I was saying earlier about terrain. Like, if you've got enough terrain on the board where your 7-man Sanguinary Guard can kill an enemy and end up obscured from the enemy, great. If you don't, then expect the whole squad to die. And I guess if you're willing to lose 210 points a turn, then go for it. I used to love Sanguinary Guard by 7s. I used to always run them in 7s. As of Arcs of Omen, I think I'm running them in 5s. But I play... Here's the thing, like, if you go to an event, or at least in the meta that I go to, everybody's still playing around Space Marines. So everybody has, like, when I fought Eldar, and when I fought Knights, and when I fight Sisters, so that's 3 armies at the moment, and when I fight Dark Angels, and when I fight Iron Hands, so that's 5 armies. All 5 of those armies are all hitting me at -4 or -5 constantly. Like, literally every attack. Everything in the Knight army, maybe except like the Helverins, is going to be like -4. Eldar just have so much -4. It's ridiculous. D cannons, battle focused. I forget the name of the little troops with those crazy pistols, but all these things just will wreck these units now. They'll wreck them. Like, Armor of Contempt has really hurt these things. So, maybe, I mean, again, you'll be terrain dependent. So if you are going to events that have loads of terrain and you confidently can put these things behind terrain and say your opponent won't be able to shoot them for a few turns, and you're 100% confident in that, then you're good. If you're not confident in that, then you maybe have problems. And I suppose it depends on how much you can screen with 2 units, with 2 forward deployed units of troops. I think that's why I think infiltrators are going to be worth their weight in gold, especially because everything can be put in reserve now for no CP cost, right? I'm not going to swap a bunch of fists onto Sangre Guard just because of early Arcs of Omen meta. No, I'm finally running. I ran the ones with the fists that I made like 5 years ago that have sat in a drawer, and they felt pretty good. Especially into, you know, high toughness enemies, because that's the problem with Sangre Guard, right? Is like if you want to kill armor with Sangre Guard, they're generally pretty ineffective. But if you want to kill armor and you got power fists because they were free, they're generally really effective. So, how do you feel about relics versus assault terminators? I think they both have a place. I think they're both good. I guess the free weapon loadouts on both squads are decent. I've run both 2 events. I've run Relic Terminators. Well, not Relic Terminators, just like Terminators with Storm Bolters and Chain Fists. But that is kind of Relic Terminators, right? And I've run Thunderhammer. So I've run both the events, and I've done okay with both of them. I think they're both decent. They kind of fill different niches or different roles, but I think you're fine running Terminators now. I think if you've got a priest there as well, that can definitely help a lot with Terminators. So it's nice to see some Terminators being brought back in. I think for my list this week, I'm going to run 2 squads of Terminators and a squad of Blade Guard in an Impulsor. So I think that's my thought. And then keep like 3 fast-moving jump units. I do think we want those fast-moving jump units. But I think we might need to play them a bit differently just because everything is free in reserve. And I also think that like it might be worth putting one of them into Deep Strike just to bring in your own deployment zone. And an example of that might be like if we look at like this table here, for example. So I was deployed some stuff in this building here, and I was jumping out like turn on turn to kill Terminators in the middle of the board. What you could do is put like 2 of my fast moving jump units here at the beginning of the game. And I could either start the 3rd one back in this building with the plan to jump into this building here in turn 1 or 2 once some of the units have left, or keep one of them off the board if this building didn't exist, for example, and just drop them down here in my backfield to jump forward in a future turn. So I think 2 or 3 units, probably 3 units of fast moving is probably going to be the sweet spot for Arcs of Omen, but who knows? Who knows? We'll have to see some Blood Angels. There has been one person that won a tournament already in Arcs of Omen, I believe. Solo tournament. I think Sam won one in Toronto where he had 3 7-man squads of Sangre Guard. I'd love to see the terrain he's playing on, and Sam does have a YouTube channel, so I'll keep an eye out for that. But he must be playing on dense terrain because there's no way you're doing that now. If you're playing on like medium terrain against Tau or something, Tau's easily able to kill both those units of Sangre Guard in a single turn and not even break a sweat. they'll overkill them. Tau overkilled my Blade Guard veterans with transhuman, like, and they're arguably way more survivable than Sanguinary Guard because they basically all have an extra wound. They all have a 4-up invulnerable save, and they were next to the priest as well, so they all had feel no pains. So Tau Plasma will just absolutely rock Sangor. If you're not obscured, they're gone. They're 100% gone. Same with Death Company, right? Sam also had the 100-point bonus of Inceptors. Okay, so I mean, I guess that kind of makes it interesting because I guess he probably how many more Inceptors did that give him? Like a couple of guys? I don't know. I don't really rate Inceptors anyway myself. You could have maybe just switched them out for attack bikes. I don't know if that maybe changes all that much. I mean, the attack bikes could be in reserve for free, just like the Inceptors can be in reserve for free. You're just a little bit more limited on where you go, right? Okay, so I know that I think Foz knows Sam in real life, and I think Sam tutored him a little bit. I guess if they go to the same events and there's plenty of terrain, this is fine. If you go to an event with less terrain, which it seems like all my events have less, all the events I go to, and I go to a lot of decent sized events, tend to have less terrain than. I think if I try and put 12 to 14 pieces on the board, people would be saying you're really giving Blood Angels too much of an advantage. But I mean, we use the UTC terrain, so that is the terrain that gets used in UK. Like it's actually the terrain. Okay, so this is a new list from Chronosay, and it's going with the Blade Guard and the Judiciar in the Impulsor for Oaths. You know what? No one's really built around Oaths. This is cool. I think Oaths will come back with a little bit. Infiltrators because they're great, reluctantly giving Inceptors another chance. The attack bikes mainly fill a 50-point gap and speed around the board with the multi-metal. Attack bikes, because attack bikes can be individual units now, if you don't run much else fast attack, you can run multiple of like little snipers. I think they're cool. I like attack bikes. Alright, we got the Chapter Master with Soul Warden, which I like. And he's got a Relic Blade, he's got a Storm Shield. Cool, that's it. He's 2 CP, what am I missing? Oh, he mastercrafted the Relic Blade. I think that's probably wasted CP now that you can just take a Thunderhammer for the same points. I think he's 145. Or is he 155? Okay, maybe. I don't know if I'm spending 1 CP on a mastercrafted Relic Blade anymore if the Thunderhammer is only 10 more points. But I feel like a CP is worth more than 10 points to me. But I suppose it depends on all the CP you're going to spend in the game. We got the Sanguinary Priest with Rites of War. Cool. Okay, so you've got your Soul Warden bubble separate to your Rites of War bubble. I like it. Personally, I prefer Rites of War on a more survivable thing because that's the thing that's probably going to be in the thick of things. So I might be tempted to go Armor Indomitus on this Priest because unless you can hide the Rites of War character off the objective, but that's usually easier said than done, right? Blade Guard and Terminator solid for holding the middle. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, Terminators with Storm Shields are kind of the most survivable thing we can put on the board. And if there is any like cover in the middle of the board, Braden, where we can deep strike the Terminators into cover on the center field objective, then the ones that have Storm Shields essentially have a 0-up save, right? Because they have a 2-up save normally. The Storm Shield gives them +1, so they're on a 1-up save. Then being in cover gives them +1, so they're on a 0-up save. So to get them to have to save on their invulnerable of 4-up, they need to hit them with -4 AP. So if they hit you with -2, you're still saving on 2s. They hit you with -3, you're saving on 3s. So Terminators that can be dropped into cover. And this is sometimes why I think it's okay. Like, let's say you know you need to kill the enemy's backfield. You could drop the Terminators in the open, for example, and they could have like a 9-inch charge, right? But we know we can fail charges on 9-inch. It's pretty unreliable. That's why I think it's okay sometimes to just drop those Terminators 5 inches further away, for example, or a few inches further away in cover. If you think like, well, in cover, I know I'm on that 0-up save, which means I can probably survive quite a lot of shooting firepower, and then I can move out 5 inches in my turn and have an easier charge. And I've used that before, and I think it's pretty useful, and it's one of the reasons that I like Storm Shield Terminators so much, probably, just because nothing else can be that durable. Like, I've had it where, like, I think Andrew shot, like, an entire army of knights at a squad of Terminators and killed none of them. He ended up killing them all in melee, go figure, but in his shooting phase, he shot everything he had at the Terminators, like, 2 or 3 Hellverns, and I think he even shot a big knight at it, and I just saved and saved and saved and saved, and was like, yeah, Terminators dropped into cover are actually really, really nice. Like I said, they got to hit them with -4 just to put them on a 4-up in Fun, which is a lot. Alright, we got 5 Blade Guard here with the Neo Volkite Pistol. We got 5 Death Company with the 4 Thunder Hammers, the Infernal Pistol, and the Power Sword. This is how I'm running my Death Company now. I think it's probably the best way of running them. Sort of keeps them cheap, but keeps the damage high enough to just about kill anything. And then we've got the Judiciar. I think the Judiciar here might benefit from Selfless Valor, because that just gives your Fight Last aura a lot more power. In terms of, like, you can basically make something fight last that's a lot further away from you. It gives you just a bit more. It gives you a bit more flexibility with the Judiciar. So I think if you're going to run him with the Blade Guard, I'd probably consider Selfless Valor. You don't have to take it, but I think it's a good pick. We got Relic Terminators with. I didn't know Relic Terminators could go double Lightning Claw. Okay. Sure, Relic Terminators all with double Lightning Claws. The Blade Guard Ancient with an Infernal Pistol and the Wrath of Baal. Cool. We got 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, all with Infernal Pistols, so 7 Infernal Pistols. 1 squad of 7 is probably okay. I think, like, if you could do 2 squads of 5 all with Infernal Pistols, I think it's better. You've got elite slots, like, you've got spare elite slots, you could probably make that happen. If you don't like Inceptors and the fact that they went up in points now, maybe that's what I would aim to do instead. 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, 5 Infernal Pistols in both. That gives you your 3 fast jump units that I was talking about earlier. You got an attack bite with 50 points. You obviously have the Inceptors. You could switch them out for Bolter Inceptors. I think Bolter Inceptors are okay, but I get that people think plasma ones are better. We got Las Fusel Eliminators. Again, I think that if you just got 1 squad of Eliminators, I always find that they're kind of underwhelming. But I mean, they can sit on an objective and they can shoot. It's not bad. It's 3 damage a shot. You got the Vindicator Laser Destroyer, which is cool, but I wonder if the Gladiator Lancer is just better now because it's 50 points less, I think. And it's basically the same thing. It's maybe ever so slightly less percentile. Yeah, I think it would. So the Vindicator Laser Destroyer is going to be 3 shots hitting on 3s. So on average, you'll make 2 hits. The Gladiator Lancer is 2 shots hitting on 2s. So average, you'll make like 1.6 hits. But it's 50 points cheaper. And it's got a lot more range. So there could be an argument now for the Gladiator Lancer just being a better pick, which is really annoying because I've got a Vindicator Laser Destroyer coming that I commissioned like 6 months ago, actually. Maybe even longer, 7 months ago. I've got it coming this month. But I mean, I guess if you need to shave some points, Gladiator Lancer could be better here. We got the Whirlwind with a free Stormbolt or Whoop-de-Doo, and we got the Impulsor with the free Shield Dome and Stormbolt and Heavy Stubber. Cool. Okay, I like double Infiltrators for sure. I like the Chapter Master and the Priest idea. I think that's probably the most iconic Blood Angels. You got 2 Fight Lasts in this list, which is interesting. We often don't see Blood Angels run multiple Fight Lasts, but Fight Last used right is so important. I hope they do change the keywords for transports to take Primaris happily to pack my Terrax with Blade Guard. Imagine if they did and you could put Terminators in Impulsors and you could put Blade Guard in Terraxes and stuff. It would be madness. It would be great. Relic Terminators with Claw and Chain Fist could be cool. I didn't even know. I didn't know that Relic Terminators let you do double Claw. Double Lightning Claw. Do they let you do Chain Fist and Claw? Surely not. Relic Terminators. Any number of models can have their Combi Bolt replaced with Lightning Claw. Any number of models can have their... Oh, you can do Chain Fist and Claw. Interesting. Okay, that's a wacky combination, but I guess either way is free, right? Then that's how I would build them, like 5 with Lightning Claw and also Chain Fist. That gives you like real anti-infantry and anti-armor, doesn't it? Wow, cool. I do like the Vindicator Laser Destroyer, and I do think there's some strength to having a D3+3 firepower, fire support. Maybe the Gladiator Lancer is a better pick now, though, just because the extra long range, and could be. Now that you've got me talking about the Gladiator Lancer, I'm wanting to run a Lancer to test it. Could I run one Ball? The problem is if I just run one Ball Predator, it'll get blown off the board. One Ball Predator and one Gladiator Lancer? I don't know. Hope to do a free Stormbolter. It came with a big weekend. I put Stormbolters in a bunch of my stuff last night on the painting stream, Braden. So if they're free, we'll take it. But like realistically, a free Stormbolter doesn't really make up for the loss of armor content, does it? Okay. Another list where I think infiltrators are really, really strong now. Helix Gauntlet adds so much to them. Bladeguard Death Company, I think it's decent. My only question is like Eliminators on their own. I don't know how much they do. Inceptors, you could easily swap them out for attack bikes. I think they do similar work and similar sort of damage or whatnot. You took a Relic Contemptor with a Chain Fist and Twin Volkite. I mean, the Twin Volkite Relic Contemptor is good because it outranges a lot of things with its 45-inch range, and it does spit out some mortals every turn. I think the best way to run the Relic Contemptor for Blood Angels probably is like the Cyclone Missile Launcher, the Volkite, and a melee weapon. But there is definitely value in just having them sit back with double Volkite and shoot each turn. That is a good build. It does do work. It kills units that can't handle mortal wounds, like Necrons, like some Sisters of Battle Squads. And it will do mortals to things that also, like I had it do like 8 mortals to a knight one turn as well, from like 40 inches away. So it can do work, the Volkite. Are there any Blood Angels? Are there any Blood Angel add 1 to charge abilities other than Chapter Tactic? Unfortunately not. We have a stratagem that lets you ignore charge modifiers when you land from deep strike. So like if you were charging over something that would give you a modifier, you could ignore it. But typically if you're flying, you kind of ignore those anyway. We have Veil of Time, which lets you reroll charges, and we have the Canticle of Hate, which is a chaplain litany that adds +2 but doesn't stack with your +1. Anyone of the list for the LVO finalist running Blood Angels? I haven't seen the list, but based on previous from Jack, it's probably going to be like 3 squads of Death Company. I think it was 3 squads of Death Company, 3 squads of Sandguard, Sangre Ancient, and then maybe like 1 troop choice, like maybe I think it was 1 squad of Infiltrators or 1 squad of Incursors. Someone will get it. Someone will put it in the Discord, I'm sure. But it doesn't really matter because that list is dead now because Armor of Contempt has gone, and LVO is still running the old rules, right? So everything has changed drastically in this season, I think you'll find. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah, probably lose the Inceptors, add some Sangre Guard with Infernal Pistols, potentially switch out the Gladiator, but you maybe don't have to. And then Selfless Valor in the Judiciar. If you're not... Do you understand why Selfless Valor is good in the Judiciar, Chronothane, or do you need me to explain it to you? let me move on. What's next? Explain it. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll explain it real quick. So, hold on. Let me open the Judiciar's. So the Judiciar's Temper Mortis attack is like, at the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy within 3 inches of this model. This unit is not eligible to fight. Basically, you make them fight last, right? Or you move them down one fight bracket. So if they charged you, you would fight before them. If they didn't charge or they didn't have a fight first, then they have to fight last, and you can't play counter-offensive on them. So Selfless Valor is the Blood Angel's Warlord trait, which lets you basically heroic intervene 6 inches. Now, the fight last is a 3 inch, but remember, when you heroically intervene, you do not need to end in engagement range. So what this means is, can I explain this easy without looking at models? I don't know if I can. I can look at models, so hold on. Phone is failing me. Here we go. Looking for a phone. Give me a sec. Is it coming? It might be. There we go. Right. So, here's my Judiciar. Here is the Blade Guard in front of them. Here is the enemy charging me. Right? So if I'm charging this Blade Guard here, I can remember, you can fight from 1 inch away. So I put him 1 inch away precisely, so that this guy behind him is not within 3, so he can't make me fight last. Right? By having Selfless Valor, if I need to get within 1 inch of this guy, then I am within 6 of this guy. So I am now allowed to heroic intervene up to 6. Remember, and I have to move closer to this guy, but I don't need to end with engagement range of him. So I can just go to here. I mean, if I want to engage him, I can. But I can also just go to here and be like, now I am within 3, you fight last. So I can position like my... If you imagine the other way around, right? This is like my Blade Guard in front of my Judiciar. So like I'm protecting my character. So when the enemy charges me, maybe I can leave a space between like 2 models or something, so I'm protecting them, because no one's going to really want to charge in here maybe, or maybe we leave it that you can't get in there. So I can move around, or maybe even if that's within 6, I can move right up and push in, and now I'm within 3. So Selfless Valor, just allowing you to do that 6 inch heroic, will actually let you make units fight last that maybe normally you cannot fight last with, or because you're going to be out of range, right? Because the Temper Mortis actually used to be 6 inch fight last, and they nerfed it to 3 inches. I don't know if they really needed to nerf it. But yeah, you can also do the same. Like for a while there, I used to run the Judiciar right behind a Dreadnought. So if anyone wanted to charge the Dreadnought, I could use my 6 inch heroic to like jimmy round the Dreadnought, and then be within 3, and then they fight last. I wish you could run more Eliminators. I'm out of heavy support slots. Yeah, I mean, I find... My experience is if you're just running one squad of Eliminators, they're underwhelming. But, I mean, it's just my experience. I feel like I've fielded Eliminators a bunch of times, but I've never had a game where I went like, wow, those Eliminators really did it for me. I noticed Mark saying in the chat that we need more likes on tonight's stream. We get 26 likes, we get 61 people viewing. Let's get a few more likes on there if we can, if you don't mind. Alright, we're looking at William Begley's list next. This is a Flesh Tearers list. 2,000 points. So we got Seth, who is the Merciless Butcher. We got Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening, Unleash Rage, and Shield. And he's also got Rights of War. Interesting, we don't see Rights of War on a Librarian Dreadnought all that much, but that's a cool idea. We've got Assault Intercessors with that free Thunderhammer. We've got Blade Guard Veterans ×2. We've got Leviathan Dreadnought and a Redemptor Dreadnought. Storm Cannons on the Leviathan. I think you're better using the Grav Flux Cannon on the Leviathan. The Storm Cannon costs points. I don't know if it's that great, honestly. It kills infantry, but why would you want to kill infantry when... I mean, you've got tons of melee attacks that can just chew through infantry. You got the Redemptor with the heavy onslaught cannon. And I mean, you've loaded out your Redemptor to kill infantry as well. I think I would have at least one of my dreadnoughts to kill enemy vehicles, and I think that the Leviathan is better at that than the Redemptor, because its big cannon gets 2d3 as opposed to 1d6. You got 10-man squad of Sanguinary Guard. I hate this, man. I don't think 10-man squads of Sanguinary Guard are going to be competitive. I think you're going to get eaten alive now, and then you're going to fail morale. I would definitely not go bigger than 7 on Sitting Guard. If anything, my gut tells me to go smaller. You've got 10 Terminators, a bunch of Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, but I guess you can combat squad them. You've got a Repulsor, which we don't see ever, and I don't know if it's a competitive. And you're not looking for this to be reviewed, you just thought you would post it. Okay, William, well, if I don't review it, no one's going to look at it. So I guess we've reviewed it. If you want to run a Repulsor, I think you're going to... I guess you've got Shield of Sanguinius, you're going to have to cast that in the Repulsor every fucking turn, because if you don't, that Repulsor is not going to live. It feels very risky. I mean, it's a lot less points than it was. I mean, before it was like 315 points. I don't know how the hell you could ever field it at 315. At 220, it feels possible. Like, it might be fieldable, but it's still going to be a lot to lose. I guess if you could load it up with your Blade Guard, it could be scary. You've got a couple of Dreads on the board as well, which could distract people from the fact you've got a Repulsor. You've got 10 Terminators deep striking in. You get to do something with that Sanguinary Guard, because that's crazy. I don't think it'll ever work. Just because you'll jump in with your 10, you'll definitely kill something, but then you'll instantly get mopped up. And people love to mop up Sanguinary Guard, especially now they know they're not survivable. You could get Infernal Pistols on the Sanguinary Guard as well. Eliminators were great before the update. They're just a tool for Quake Bolts and to grief people with the move, shoot, move. I used my Tech Marine a lot for Quake Bolts when I used to run it. I think I might start using my Captain for Quake Bolts, actually. I think I'm gonna put Quake Bolts into my list. I'm gonna put it into the Guilliman list because I've got like 9 CP. DTM gave me some tips on how to improve that Guilliman list, so I'm gonna improve the Guilliman list for sure. But yeah, I don't like 10 Sanguinary Guard. Period. Yeah, I don't know how you I don't know what you switch up here, but definitely not 10 Sanguinary Guard. Definitely not. If you yeah. It's quite a lot of models to hide in terrain as well. Like, you're going to be, sometimes it's bad enough to try and hide like 5 to 7 models inside a piece of terrain, and sometimes you want multiple squads. So I think 10 is going to be really difficult. I'd definitely combat squad the Terminators. Alright, so William didn't really want his list reviewed, but reviewed it anyway. So final list of tonight is by Terrence. And I was going to say, of course, it's an Arcs of Omen detachment. He's got a Captain on a bike with Soul Warden and Rights of War and Armor Indomitus. Cool. So this is a very this is a 3 CP spend, but it gives you a lot of utility. And it's one of the reasons that I tend to always fall back on the Captain on a bike over Dante, because I think mathematically he's more survivable, and then he gives Rights of War, and I think Rights of War is so important. I mean, Rights of War wins games, right? Like, it literally is the difference between winning and losing games, quite often for me. And a lot of the pro players, or the really experienced players, run Rights of War. So if you have a character that can hold on and survive through multiple nasty turns because of Soul Warden, because of Armor Indomitus, and there's Rights of War on them, I think it's really useful. Maybe it's a crutch for me because I'm not the greatest player. But I mean, I guess if you're not the greatest player too, consider it because it's won me more games than I probably care to admit. We got the Primaris Tech Marine and we got the Sanguinary Priest, who is the Selfless Healer. And the cool thing about the Selfless Healer is if that captain does survive one extra turn or something that he probably normally wouldn't because of Armor Indomitus and the extra toughness, then jump over with him to the healer and give him 3 wounds back. It's dead powerful. I think it's powerful to just give him D3 wounds back because I don't run Selfless Healer, but Selfless Healer giving him 3 wounds back is really good. Are Quake Bolts legal to take with Guilliman because Angel's Ascendant is a Blood Angels thing? Yeah, I think it would be. Guilliman's not going to stop you do anything now. Like, you're not even going to be limited. The only thing you can't do with Guilliman in your army is have another Warlord and have like a Warlord trait or a relic on him. Angels Ascendant will... I'll just get it up and we'll check the wording. Angels Ascend... is it Angels? Where is it? Angels Ascendant. Use a stratagem, select one Blood Angels model in your army. That's the word Sergeant. This model can have the following special issue war gear. Yeah, I mean, quite that's valid. Yeah, there's no problem with that. I mean, there's not even a problem with like Relic of the Chapter or Hero of the Chapter, you know, the ones you give to your non-warlords, because they basically say like if your warlord has the Adeptus Astartes keyword, which Guilliman does, you select one Adeptus Astartes character from your and give them one chapter relic. Which chapter relics normally are just, you know, all the Space Marine ones. But then if you actually read the second sentence of the Relics of the Angels, it says these are considered to be chapter relics for all rules purposes. So the only thing you can't do is give a character warlord traits or warlock relics. You can give them Heroes of the Chapter, you can give them Angels Ascendant, you can give them what was the other thing? Relics of the Chapter. Robbie says, love your work, man. Robbie, hi, thank you so much. I love comments like that where people enjoy what I do. Thanks a bunch. Thanks for stopping by, Robbie. Alright, 2 Infiltrator squads. I think Infiltrators are honestly going to be so powerful right now. I'm on the fence myself. I'm either going to run like 2 Infiltrator squads, because that screens half the fucking board, or I'm going to run like 1 Infiltrator, 1 Incursor, and maybe 1 Assault Intercessor, or maybe 2 Incursors. I'm probably going to do something like that, but I think troops have got a lot better. Sticky objectives for Marines have got a lot better. I'm breaking down all the battles that I did at the tournament that I won on the YouTube channel, right? Like if you go to /YouTube, Blood Angels, Commander, etc., etc. Last week I had this video where I did this breakdown of my game against Space Wolves, and tomorrow I've got the video breakdown of the game against Dark Angels. So I'm breaking down all the matches. I guess I actually need to film like the next couple this week. But I'm breaking down all the matches I did at the tournament. And I found like a lot of value on the sticky objectives from the troops. So I hopefully on those matchups I talk about deployment and I talk about how I used it. And I think it's really cool that they've changed it, that it's like before you were forced to take troops, now you want to take troops, and I think that's a much better thing for the game than like, hey, you need to take those 3 troop units. No, like you want to take troop units because the sticky objectives is really cool. How much credit do you give your teammates for the win? I mean, Gav scored like 98 points in 4 games and 100 points in one of the games, so Gav was the top scorer in the team. And then the way the event worked was it didn't look at individual wins and losses. It looked at team wins and losses and gave you points for team wins and losses. So our team wise, we won 4 games and lost 1. And then After that, it went on battle points, like just your raw victory point score. And I came second in our team out of that. So it was Gav, then me, then Miles. But then on wins and losses, it was Miles was ahead of me. So Miles won more games than me. But I scored more points than him. So it was the scoring. Team games are interesting. And like, I've been to team events where they do like the 20-0 scoring. So like, basically how that works is every 5 points you are ahead of your opponent in victory points. You both start 10-all, and if you beat them by 5, you win 11-9. If you beat them by 10, you win 12-8. If you beat them by, I think it's 50, you win 20-0. So I think that's the better way of scoring it, because I think that means that it's more about the difference in the games. But this tournament was just literally how many points do you score. So if you scored 90 points 5 times, your team just got 5 times 90. So it didn't take into consideration the difference. And I guess people could argue both ways. I think I prefer the way where it goes on that 5 victory point swing. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I think it's cool that they've changed it. So troops are something you want to take. So I think I'm definitely taking 2 infiltrator squads or infiltrators plus 2 troop units, because I think troops are gonna. It's gonna depend on me if we can use voidsmen. I don't know if we're allowed to use voidsmen yet. I don't know how much it's been FAQ'd. I'm expecting it to be FAQ'd, but who knows? Like, have they just decided you can't take voidsmen this season? Because I think voidsmen at 40 points they were super useful for me in the last season. So Terrence has got Blade Guard on a 5, Blade Guard on a 4, Death Company with a Thunderhammer. So we only got 3 elites. That's really strange. Then we've got attack bikes, 2 storm speeders, 3 gladiator reapers, and 2 impulsors. Okay, if you're gonna run this much armor, I was gonna say run Gilliman, jeez, because all these things would get reroll 1s from Gilliman. I generally don't like gladiator reapers, man. I think that, and this might just be my opinion, I think if you want to spend points on armor like this, I think the Baal Predator for 110 points to me looks more attractive than a Gladiator Reaper, and I own both. Why do I think that? Let me think. Like, Baal Predator against the Gladiator Reaper. So if you take the Gladiator Reaper, you've got 24 shots at 6-1, and then you've got basically 8 shots. So the most damage the Gladiator Reaper could do is 24 plus 8. So like on average, I guess you could do 32 at -1, right? 32 damage. The Baal Predator, I guess you're going to get the 12 shots from the assault cannon, and then you're going to get the 6 shots from the heavy bolter that all do 2. So you're going to get 24 damage. So you're going to get 24 damage at the same AP for 110. Against 32 damage at the same AP for 150. I guess the Baal Predator gets a free Hunter Killer Missile and a Storm Bolter. The Gladiator Reaper gets like a free Rocket Pod and a Stubber. So, yeah, I mean, my experience with the Rocket Pods isn't great. They tend to not do much damage, and a Stubber is meh. Same as a Storm Bolter is meh, and a Hunter Killer Missile is meh. So the way I don't know. The Gladiator Reaper has 1 more wound, 1 more toughness. So probably on points, as it stands, it probably feels balanced. Like 24 divided by 110. So basically every point of damage, I think I did that wrong way around, right? 110 divided by 24. Every point of damage on the Baal Predator is costing you like 4.5 points. Every point of damage on the... I did that around the wrong way as well. Every point of damage on the Gladiator Reaper is costing you 4.6 points. So there's almost nothing between them. I just think I'd rather... Like... Our armor isn't great. Like these things just aren't great. Like I played against Iron Hands last week, and he had the Gladiator Reaper, and so he gets to hit on 3s. He gets to re-roll his 1s, and he gets an extra AP for the entire game. And I just felt like the Gladiator Reaper, even for Iron Hands, I just felt like it's not great. It's not good. So maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I shouldn't be running Battle Predators. Like maybe they're just not good. Based on those numbers that I just ran, they probably aren't good. Like I'm probably going to run these Battle Predators one time and be like, yeah, they're not good. But my experience of playing a shooting faction that gets bonuses for the Gladiator Reaper, whenever Andrew was shooting them, I was like, wow, the Gladiator Reaper's trash. It's not good. So yeah, I normally say take like 500 points in shooting. The Hammer Strike is the one, I forget which loadout the Hammer Strike is as well. Hold on. Hammer Strike, Storm Speeder, Hammer Strike. I've got one of these Storm Speeders, but I don't really run it. I think you're better just running the cheaper ones with the... So this is the Melta one. The Melta one is my preferred option, but I think you're better just running regular Land Speeders. The problem I have with the Hammer Strike is it'll profile pretty quickly. It's going to do 5 wounds to it, and all of a sudden it's only hitting on 4s. They do 7 wounds to it, or sorry, 8 wounds to it, it's only hitting on 5s. Iron Hands are getting even scarier with Brutalises. Are they? Yeah, maybe, I guess, because they would reroll ones on the multi-meltas and they'd be really good in combat. The Battle Predator can auto-advance 19 inches. Why you'd want that, I don't know. The Battle Predator looks cheap at 110 points, so maybe that's the appeal of them, because you see 110 points and you think that's not much. I can fit a couple of Battle Predators in, but yeah, I have a Gladiator tank, and who said it was toughness 8? Chip Hazard said toughness 8 versus toughness 7. It still dies. My Reaper died to, like, what's that fucking little buggy that the squats have? Like the Sagitar or something? My Reaper just got, like, killed in one turn. The Sagitar, the guy put a judgment token on it and he just blew up the Reaper straight away, and it didn't even matter that it had toughness 8. It just felt like the Reaper had no survivability, and that was... I'm pretty sure that was with Armor of Contempt. The points cost and lack of Armor of Contempt is the reason Battle Predators are viable. Yeah, I don't know. A few people have said to me they used a Battle Predator and they felt they were okay. And my only experience with the Reaper is that I felt it was trash. And Andrew ran 2 of them against me, and I came out of the game thinking, well, Reapers are trash. I really don't know. I guess... What's the range on the... I know the heavy bolters are 36. I assume the twin assault cannon is 24. So the Reaper maybe has a little bit more range as well, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not impressed with the Gladiator Reaper. I wouldn't run 3 of them. I wouldn't even run 1 of them. But I do think we need... Like, I genuinely don't like one jump unit in a Blood Angels list. The thing that we're strongest in, the thing that I always say we're the best at, is our maneuverability. So if you only have 1 jump unit, you have, like, no maneuverability. That's why I'm sort of thinking for my elites, I'm going 3. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold this weekend, so I'm going to wrap up the stream because I can't hardly speak without coughing, but I don't think, like, if you're looking for, like, a top-level thought right now, bring 3 fast elites, bring 3 durable elites. That's my thought into Armor of... That's my thoughts of what we need post-Armor of Contempt. Durable elites are anything with a Storm Shield. So Vanguard Veterans. Vanguard Veterans might be the best of both worlds, honestly. I'll probably end up trying some Vanguard Veterans over the next month. Vanguard Veterans, Blade Guard Veterans, Terminators. There's your elite. There's your durable choices. Your fast moving choices, Death Company and Sandguard, same as it's always been. Assault squads got better as well. Could you place 2 Incursor squads so close together you couldn't charge one without charging the other and then detonating both their mines? Probably. But I mean, into some enemies, the mines are just going to do tickle damage, right? I guess some enemies they'll kill a few units, but some enemies they'll just kill a tickle damage. Chip Hazard says, I think 3 wounds are key. My veterans just get wiped. I mean, yes and no, Chip. So, the thing about having a 4-up invulnerable save is sometimes you can spike on a 4-up invulnerable save. You know, I've played against Harlequins where if I just say, like, take 24 up invulnerable saves and they've passed 18 of them, something, and I'm just my jaws hit the floor and I've thought, like, fuck my life, you know? So I've had that with Vanguard veterans before, in that I remember a game where Andrew unloaded, like, a whole squad of Devastators into my Iron Hands Devastators. So it would have been, like, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, wounding on 2s, 10 shots. One of the guys, actually, 4 of the shots would have been hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. So it was like he maybe hit like 9 multi-melta shots, wounded on 8, so I have to take 8 4-up saves. I fail 1 of them. So he paid for a drop pod, he paid for like a 200-point unit, he put that down, which was the best part of 300 points, and he killed a single Vanguard veteran. So in that case, the Storm Shields were worth their weight in gold. However, on another day, all 5 of the Vanguard veterans die, right? So it's like, it just 4-up invulnerable saves can be worth their weight in gold. Basing on a game plan out of spiking 4-ups does not seem like a viable strategy. No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is it happens. Like, you'll never spike saves on like 6s. You'll never spike saves on 5-ups. People will spike saves on 4-ups. So, I mean, do that in your head, Anton. If the enemy are going to put a turn 1, and I've played Andrew before where he's had 2 drop pods. So turn 1 against Iron Hands, he's putting down 2 drop pods, he's putting down 10 multi-melta shots, 4 multi-meltas are hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, 6 of them are hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, so it's about 9 hits probably on average. He's wounding Marines on 2s. They're -5, so you want to take, and it's very difficult. Like, if you can't hide everything, like every single piece is an obscuring cover. And remember, those drop pods come in interesting places in no man's land that give you line of sight, maybe around corners and shit. So, yeah, think about that. Transhuman helps a lot in that situation as well, but unfortunately, Blade Guard are like the only real unit that we can use Transhuman on. And Transhuman is a really hard one to predict. I've said it before. The amount of times I've used Transhuman in a situation, I feel like it was helped me, and the whole squad's been wiped anyway. So, Terrence says he's staying in Devastator all game for those AP6 shots on the Reapers. Oh, so AP2 shots for the Reapers. I'm never staying in Devastator Doctrine as a Blood Angel player. The damage buff we get from Assault Doctrine is like 200% on all our melee. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm never staying in Devastator Doctrine. I almost want to say if that's your game plan, you might want to just run another army, because I think, like, if you want to stay in Devastator Doctrine all game, why not just play Iron Hands? Because then you're gonna hit on what you could play Iron Hands successors if you still want +1 to wound and +1 to advance and charge, right? You really want to chase the meta. Detachment rules. So the flesh is weak. So if you went a successor Iron Hand chapter and you took Hungry for Battle, +1 to advance and charge, and you took what's the thing that gives you +1 to wound called again? It definitely exists, doesn't it? No? I thought there was one that gave you +1 to wound. Huh. I guess I'm wrong. Okay, so there isn't +1 to wound. I guess you could you could take Whirlwind of Rage or Born Heroes. I did maths on those before, and they don't math out too much worse. In some cases, they actually math out better than. So you can take Whirlwind of Rage and Hungry for Battle. So you can still get Advance on Charge rather than +1 to wound. 6 is burst and additional hit, and then you also get 6 up Feel No Pain against everything. All your vehicles have double profile, and I'm pretty sure you also get the the reroll ones for heavy, right? Because where is that again? Yeah, you get Calculated Fury, right? So while in Devastator Doctrine is active, do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. An additional Devastator Doctrine is active and reroll hits of 1 for heavy weapons. So I think, like, if you want to stay in Devastator Doctrine, that's probably what you want to go for, right? I think you're right. I think the +1 is unique. Anyway, thank you to everyone who submit lists. If you want to submit lists, you can submit them for next week. I think there might have already been quite a few submissions. I've got 4 here for next week. I think there's a few on the website I need to comment as well. So if you want your list reviewed in the next few weeks, submit sooner rather than later. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button. And I will catch you. I was going to say, I think I might be streaming painting on Thursday, but I think I'll have a video coming out tomorrow for sure. And I think I'm playing Iron Hands on Wednesday with the Reboot. So tune in on Wednesday night to see Reboot in action. And I think it'll be I think I'll go double Terminator, double Terminator, Blade Guard Veterans, and Pulsar. And I think I'm going to run the Ball Predators. I don't think they're going to be good. I mean, they'll be better with Gilliman because I'll get to reroll 1s to hit. But I think I'll run them just because they'll be a distraction. You'll have to shoot them. We'll see, I guess. If he's shooting Ball Predators, he's not shooting the Terminators, he's not shooting the Blade Guard, he's not shooting the Sand Guard, he's not shooting the Death Company. 100 points, maybe it's enough of a distraction for him to want to shoot it. Alright, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you probably live on Wednesday. Put them in reserve. Yeah, I'll maybe put the list that I'm going to run into Discord and you can tell me what I can put in reserve, right? Or tell me what you guys would put in reserve, because I can literally put half of the list into reserve now for free because of the new rules. And when I played Andrew last time, he put, I think, 3 or 4 Gladiators into reserve, plus the Drop Pod, plus his Multi-Meltas, plus 2 squads of Eradicators. Like, there was a lot of shit in reserve that it makes it very difficult to screen with as well if you've got all that nonsense coming in reserve, all those Multi-Meltas, all those different angles. Yeah. Alright. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.